triple for some of those bags. Oh, I know what it was. NyQuil. I got a jug of NyQuil. So that NyQuil had to be like $30.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores.
Homemade lasagna, and I'll put her lasagna up against your lasagna anytime. I think
an eyelash.
I think that we should bring that up. Whose lasagna is best at the next state fair?
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores.
We'll have a cook-off.
Rolling, bruh.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic podcast number 1245. It's Valentine's Day, Feb 14, 2024. It's also Ash Wednesday. The record high on this day around these parts was 50 degrees in 1882, and it was 25 below on Valentine's Day in 1875.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
We had a contumely yesterday, and I'm going to settle the contumely. I think that's the word.
Is that?
Front yard and backyard. And both Kenny and I believe that if you're on an ocean or a lake or even a river, the front yard is facing the water. And the rest of you idiots think that's the backyard. And I got a note from, he said, no need to mention my name. I have yet to miss any of your shows in podcast form, including the Weekly Scramble, as well as the Krabby Coffee Shop. Well, until Kenny decided to pull the plug on that one. Yeah. I've lived on a lake my entire life, and you and Kenny are 100% correct. The lakeside is the front yard. End of debate. My wife, who grew up on the east side of St. Paul in its glory days, vehemently disagrees with me. At least three of us are correct. Good luck. Huge fan from Rockville, Minnesota, and he wants to know when the GL flags will be available again. Do we know that?
We should have information on that shortly.
Sure. And then final word on this, because it's
a lot of feedback.
Yeah, but it's kind of silly to keep going with it because Kenny and I are right. There's no controversy.
Not much of a debate.
Backdoor problem.
But Keith has a good point. You can buy lakefront property and you can buy oceanfront property. You cannot buy lake and ocean back property.
No.
Okay.
No. Technicality.
Have you ever seen a house advertised as lake back property?
That's true.
No, you can't.
That's true.
So but when you go to that house, you go through the front door, which does not face the lake.
Here's the deal. You can have a pool in the backyard, but the lake is always in the front yard.
I would agree with that.
Contumely.
Insolent or insulting language or treatment is the definition of that word.
Oh, then I had the wrong word.
I believe you had the wrong word.
You're such a pillock.
What?
What's a pillock?
Screw that word.
Damn it!
I have so much to. I have so much to do today. Do you know what I don't know what Kelsey does for a living. I have an idea.
Works for the show.
Yeah, he does. But I think he's somehow in the real estate business, and he gets to see quite a bit of property around town.
Yes.
And he sent me a link of a group of news anchors, mostly European, all of whom reporting on fires started by EVs, whether it's a ship that went down or a fire. And he notes, I have noticed quite a few burned houses in newer developments around the metro where the fire started in the garage. Would love to know if this was the cause. EVs, you mean? How long, and this is a really tough question, or a great question. How long before insurance companies start voiding homeowner policies if you own an electric vehicle? Not to mention condo buildings and apartments with underground garages.
That is an excellent point.
Now, he has no empirical evidence that the fires he's seen or the post-fire damage is caused by EVs. He's merely wondering because it looks like the fire started in a garage.
It'll be the perfect opportunity for them to raise your rates.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there are shop owners who will not work on EV vehicles for that very reason, right?
Correct.
I can't remember where Schoonover stands on that. I think he works on them, but they're finding it to be problematic quite often.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Say, as I said, much to discuss here on this Valentine's Day. And let's lay down a rule now. You get to say it twice. All right.
Say it or play it.
No, you can't. You've already played it. You're done. You are done.
That's it. You gotta warn me ahead of time.
You're all right. You get one more.
All right.
And that's it.
Play what? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what is he talking about?
Here, Kenny, he's saying I can't play this.
Happy Valentine's Day.
He's saying I
Oh,
cannot
that.
play that
It
anymore.
was your lunch.
Although I was letting Kenny
Was that the
know.
regular
Well, that
one?
one doesn't count.
Yeah, that one doesn't.
Was that the
count.
regular one?
It sounds
Mr.
different, Chris. Is it
No,
sped
that's-
up or
that was,
is that a
somebody did
fake
something.
voice?
No. It's, I think
That's
you're
not the original.
Wait, let me hear it
Valentine's
again.
Day. Happy Valentine's Day.
See.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I reserve the right to say it whenever the hell I want, by the way, because I'm very serious on this show now. You know, the joke rookie is done.
Rest in
Nice,
peace.
nice shirt, Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
That's a
What do you-
really hell of a shirt.
You know what I did? I'll tell you what I
You
did
look
this
like
morning.
a cartoon cowboy.
I went to a
Jeez.
local inner city elementary school, and I read. They had a readathon, so
you don't
I
even
read.
know how to read.
I read Barnyard Dance, and we should post video of it.
Were you
okay.
were you their example? This is how you turn out if you don't learn how to read. This
Yeah.
is
The other gal that wrote her own book is an MIT grad that graduated with the. She's an astronaut. She's an astrophysicist.
and we've got T1 and T2
Yeah.
here in the orange shirt.
I laugh at fart
Farmer
jokes on the
bleeping
radio.
fathead. I got to
This
back
was
you
my
up, though.
Farmer Fathead.
It
shirt.
was. I got to back you up. That was my favorite book to read to the boys.
May I?
What I do is I have the kids stomp their
May
feet
I
and clap their hands.
May I
So they do
continue?
The barnyard dance.
Gary, the car guy in California, writes, "Hail the flashlight king."
Hail you!
As a lifelong car guy who got his first car at age 13, I've always been in possession of at least one interesting car since then. Today, I called my go-to source of parts for my 1957 Thunderbird and ordered a variety of items. All was going well until I got to the last two parts on my list. The first was a transmission lock that prevents the car from being moved out of the parked position, thus preventing the car from moving to the drive or reverse position. For the first time ever in all the time I've worked with this company, the order taker responded, "That item is not available. It's on back order." The second item was a lock that prevents the removal of the fiberglass hardtop, which also is on back order. These two items are listed in the security section of the catalog. Given the current status of what used to be a great country, I suppose I shouldn't have been surprised. God help us, Gary, the car guy in California. Those are new wrinkles to me. I don't want a transmission lock, and I don't want a hardtop lock.
Why?
What does that mean?
Why don't you?
You mean like? Do you mean?
Well, first of all, I don't need a hardtop lock, and secondly, I don't need a transmission lock because nobody could drive these cars anyway.
That's a great theft preventer.
Yeah.
The one thing he left out, a very important thing he left out, what color? That 57. Yeah, that
They had some
57.
sweet colors.
Wait, does a transmission lock? Does that mean when you have to put the brake on to get it into shift? To shift
No,
it?
it's probably some kind of manual lock that maybe the owner of the car has a key for. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
but nobody would steal a transmission.
The legislature in its current infancy, 3 days in now,
Yeah. How much have they spent?
they've been discussing school resource officers. And there appears to be quite a bit of controversy. What the officers wish to have established is some clarity. And what the schools don't know how to do is provide that clarity.
Yeah, exactly.
They just don't know how to provide that clarity because I'm afraid that I'm afraid on behalf of the school resource officers
Mhm.
that no matter what so-called clarity is provided to them, if some kid cries about it to his mom when he gets home, the cop's going to be in trouble. So I don't know what clarity they can offer. But was this testimony, Chris, from this person?
I believe so.
And this is someone.
This
named-
took place on Monday.
This is okay. This is someone named Joyner Emmerich, and when we saw Joyner on the video screen, we
Kurt,
thought, "What? I wonder if that's a he or a she.
We couldn't tell based on the video.
I'm trying to be
So that
charitable.
means, yeah, they, them, then, right?
Well, Joyner is formerly Sonia Emmerich, which might be neither here nor there. But Sonia is an at-large member of the Minneapolis Board of Education.
Correct.
I don't know what that means. Could you find out for me?
Large member.
What does at-large member mean
And I'm sorry.
of the Minneapolis Board of Education?
On this House File 3489, they are listed as a Minneapolis School Board member.
All right.
I don't know if that makes any
Yeah, that's
help
fine.
with your clarification.
What does an at-large member mean? She's been he has been in office since January 3rd, 2023. And this person's term does not end until 2027. And you may listen to this and be as confused as I was.
Hi, my name is Joyner Emmerich. I am a school board director at large in the city of Minneapolis. I am also a disability self-advocate and the parent of 2 disabled children, one who has nonverbal autism and who is placed in the most restrictive education setting that we have in the state of Minnesota, which means that he is incredibly vulnerable to the use of restrictive procedures, and why I am so incredibly thankful that in 2015, we banned the use of prone restraint on students with disabilities in the state of Minnesota. We have determined that special education staff and teachers will be able to know the difference between allowed reasonable use of force and illegal prone restraint. We also expect correctional officers working in prisons to know the difference between allowed reasonable use of force and illegal prone restraint. We expect that people providing intensive licensed services to adults with disabilities are able to know the difference between allowed reasonable use of force and illegal prone restraint. We expect them to know and act according to the law because people's lives are at stake. Given the existing expectations at the statutory level in Minnesota for professionals working with comparable populations doing similar work, it seems exceedingly reasonable that law enforcement officers working with students inside schools will be held to the same standards. All these professionals can and should be held accountable to know the difference between allowable use of force and potentially fatal restraint types and act accordingly in their service roles. Use of prone restraints is particularly dangerous for already marginalized groups, occurring with higher frequency and resulting in more dangerous outcomes. I am going to ask very clearly that our Minnesota legislature does not pass another law that gives passive permission for the state to kill Black and Indigenous children. Thank you.
Okay, this person, guy or gal, I was with this person until the last statement, which is just an outright lie. Has there been a death of a Black or an Indigenous person in this state, if not this country, at the hands of a school resource officer?
I do not believe.
No, I
I'm
believe
unaware
the
of
only
one.
death occurred when one was stabbed at, was it Harding?
Right, and then a knife or a gun was just found in the St. Paul school situation.
And then we had the big brawl at St. Louis Park High School a couple
I'm
of weeks
unaware
ago.
of any
But-
school, but
yeah.
I'm tired of this. You had me, whatever the hell you are. You got a tough
Joiner.
road in life. You're dealing with some kids that need a great deal of attention, and you had me there until you're outright. Some people, what they do for a living is just polish their victimhood. They just.
Ooh.
That's all they do for a living, and they're figuring out ways to get paid for that. And until you said that, Joyner, I was with you, but you are a complete fool. You're a liar. And you keep selling this narrative that doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. And I also, now that you've let that cat out of the bag by revealing your true self as a liar, I also wonder, I wouldn't trust Joyner Emmerich to decide what constitutes reasonable force.
Right.
No matter what you came up with, now that you revealed yourself in your last line, lady or man, it wouldn't pass your muster.
And
you'd find a way to bitch about it.
And wouldn't the number one job of whether it's a board member or an at-large board member not be worrying about stuff like this, but the fact that 60% of kids can't read at grade level?
These people don't care about that.
Oh, that's the stuff we don't worry about.
This is the failed academy in its most visible sense right here. Did you find out what at-large means?
Well, there's a lot going on here. Joyner Emmerich is listed as on the website for the Minneapolis schools as at-large. There are 3 at-large positions.
Yeah.
It doesn't specify, but then I went to the Sahan Journal, and she's listed as Sonia Emmerich.
Well, she's made the transition.
She went to South High School. She decided to run for school board based on her experience as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
There's some disabilities.
Right.
I don't know what she does for a living.
Well, here, Colin
have
Beachy,
Mike,
Joyner Emmerich, and Carrie Jo Felder, and Lisa Skefty apparently are all at-large members. So that's a position on the Minneapolis School Board.
Yeah, they just don't have a district representation.
The answer. I have the answer.
Go.
What is a board member at large? And it's actually, I think it's Matthew, because Matthew for years has wanted to be on a board of directors, right?
Yeah.
As mentioned above, a board member at large is a full board member who doesn't hold a defined position within the board of directors.
There we go.
Instead, they serve as a general board member without specific portfolio responsibilities.
Sounds like my second Stork board work.
They're separate from other members who typically don't have voting rights. So they do have voting rights, and they don't do jack.
They, them is also listed on Ballotpedia, Emmerich, as nonpartisan.
Oh,
well, that's.
We don't know that.
Well, that gets.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
Thank you.
And Emmerich, you had me on your side until your nonsense, and so I don't know what.
Could we all be Garage Logic Podcast at large?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like I am sometimes.
But was she just speaking about kiddos with autism, or was she
marginalized groups? Yes, she was. That's what she was speaking on behalf.
Well, she was speaking on behalf of all the black kids and Indian kids who are killed every day in schools by school resource officers. It's just,
I can't. I'm not
quite a bit of murder taking place.
Yeah, I don't recall any murders taking place.
Why is it? We've never examined this before. It's probably where angels fear to tread. But why has politics attracted so many special interest groups?
Because, again, the people that are qualified do not want to deal with this type of stuff.
18,000 people voted for this joke.
Right. Not really. I bet how many of them actually realize the types of things that they, them stood for, or the types of things that they, them were going to be bringing up while holding office.
Let's see if that's in Ballotpedia here.
Joe made a great point. He was on board right up until the lies she spouted at the very end.
Yeah.
And I think what she's doing is referring to George Floyd and other unfortunate incidences that have happened not in school.
Right. Please list below 3 key messages of your campaign. What are the main points you want voters to remember about your goals for your time in office? Okay, point number 1, increase community voice, centering those most impacted by disparities. I will center BIPOC students and involve the community in decision-making. That can mean whatever you want, but it appealed to 18,000 people. Point 2, interruption of the school to incarceration, institutionalize, and interruption of the school to jail pipeline through true inclusion. If our schools are not set up to teach the diversity of our students, there's a structural problem, not a result of student deficit. Well, first of all, that's meaning there's nothing to be taught about diversity. Diversity happens to be a fact.
Mm-hmm.
It just exists in life. And number 3, equitable, effective literacy instruction for all students. I think the key word there would be equitable. Every student has limitless literacy learning potential. Yes, and when they don't achieve it, the likes of you drag out the word equitable, and then you pass them to the next grade anyway. What areas of public policy are you personally passionate about? I will center students. Okay. Particularly those disproportionately harmed by disparities. I believe MPS needs adaptive, dynamic, and resilient schools and innovative leadership to remove educational barriers and provide accessible, evidence-based, and culturally sustaining instruction. All just made up words. My passion is honoring all students' strengths, needs, and identities as valuable and enriching characteristics of our learning communities. I'm stopping now. I can't take it. So this liar has a role in the decision-making process of the Minneapolis Public Schools. I wouldn't send a kid to the Minneapolis Public Schools if you paid me $10 million.
I would.
Mike has an email here. The at-large, just like Kenny said, the at-large school board seat is one that is not representative of a part of a specific area of the district. The school board has 9 members, 6 for a specific area of the district, and 3 at-large members that essentially cover the entire school district.
So she's a floater.
Yes.
And it pops up wherever she's needed.
Right.
So
not to worry about, reading levels and that type of
thing.
I
have something on that. I better do it while it's still germane to the topic.
While it's fresh.
I think diversity that's being taught is doing its part to drive a wedge between cultures. I think that's, I've been thinking about Chris. What you said earlier. Yeah. And when diversity is taught, all it does is harm. Because if you observe kids, if you throw a couple of kids from every kind of background you can imagine into a room with a bunch of toys, they're all going to play together. It's just the nature of human beings.
There's nothing to teach.
Yeah. So when you start teaching diversity, all you're doing is teaching division.
But garage logic life is the dark side of the moon compared to that person's life. Get what I mean?
Yes.
The twain shall never meet. There's not a chance in hell that person could ever, this Emmerich could ever have sense talk to them. They're gone. They've made the commitment to be whatever they are, and they don't. The life we lead in GL is so different from that life that we can't identify it or identify with it, nor can she identify with us. There's a great, great divide there. We don't buy her BS, and she thinks we're full of BS.
Yeah.
Quite the combo.
So it's a dreadful combo.
Yeah,
but in a larger way, it's really what's happening in the country.
But she reminds me of the type that would comment on one of your columns in the newspaper without actually reading what you said, just based on her erroneous assumptions about who you are. Well, he's a climate denier. He's a Trumper. He's this, he's that, he's this, that, and when in fact you're none of the above. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's who a lot of those people are to me.
Well, when you read what they put down in their ballotpedias and their resumes, there's a template for the words, resilience, equity, equitable, diversity. You have to have all those in there, and because those are the people you're dealing with. You're not dealing with GLers,
right?
And particularly when it comes to education, that